We are live. Hello, watchers. Those of you that have been with us, and those of you who just joined us because of last week's crazy episode. But you're watching Southeast Iowa Union Sports Live. I'm Andy Kretzinger. This is my main man, Hunter Moeller. How you feeling today, Hunter?
A little under the weather, but we'll get through it. We'll pull through.
We're in a rough spot today. Nick Steffens is on the ones and twos. He might have to step in if we're both passed out by the end of this thing, because anyone who's watching last week saw me had a little medical episode with my eyes and stuff. And spoiler alert, that's not fixed yet, so you never know what's going to happen today. And Hunter's feeling under the weather and had to skip out on some volleyball last night, but he's here. We're here. We're live. We're
fighting through it.
That's right. We'll do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Bill O'Reilly. Anyway, we're live on Washington Live's YouTube, Washington Live's Facebook, Mount Pleasant Live's Facebook, Fairfield Live's Facebook, and we're on Spotify. And we're always live, right, Hunter? Always.
No
matter what. Even if you're watching this on replay, we're live. When you click that replay button, we're actually just sitting here waiting for you to click it. And
beds are over here in the corner.
Yeah, we wait for someone to click it, so we are always live, no matter when you're watching this. And if you're at a sporting event and you see us, you're talking to us, and then you pull it up on your phone, and you think you got us, joke's on you because you're talking to a hologram. So we're going to talk about a little high school football, and we'll try and get through it today. Oh, and I got to start us off, don't I, Hunter?
Yeah.
Because we've got a little Mount Pleasant Panther action, and Mount Pleasant was at home.
A good game.
Yeah, a really good game, and a game that wasn't supposed to be that good. Burlington definitely had better mutual games against teams in the district. Mount Pleasant welcomed Burlington into homecoming, and despite moving the ball a little bit in the beginning, they were down 19-0. Came back, scored 20 in a row before halftime, ended up losing 41-33. But just to talk about, they're down 19-0. It's homecoming. They moved the ball well. I remember saying they shouldn't even be down 19-0 because they had a couple of turnovers. Burlington runs the ball really well. And all of a sudden it just clicked. It was 19-0. There was an interception that the defense, Cooper Kleinkopf, intercepted a ball where Burlington tried to catch him off guard with a little play action, and it kind of fell right into his hands, and he barely hung onto it onto the ground. Mount Pleasant scored. And then all of a sudden, onside kick was recovered. Boom, scored. And then Burlington fumbled the kick return the next time. Boom, scored. All of a sudden, it was 20-19. It was 20-19 going to halftime. Things were going crazy. Mount Pleasant was rocking. It was by far the best that they'd played, the best that they looked all year. Came out, they drove it to about the 50. Mount Pleasant did, and they fumbled the ball away again. Burlington scored, and then eventually Burlington was up 2 touchdowns again, and then it was oh, here we go, it's over. Not so fast, because Mount Pleasant, with less than a minute left, scored. Jacob Rickman, who's been slaying the ball around this year, hit Carter Amos, who had a great game on a 45-yard touchdown pass. That was Carter's second of the day. He was just kind of a streak down the middle, and he caught it and turned it back up. That touchdown cut it to 8 points. Mount Pleasant, then here we go again, onside kick. Shout out to Aiden Koenig, who is the Mount Pleasant kicker. He not only squibbed it perfectly, the squib. The second time they recovered a kick on that little 20-point spree, that was on purpose. In fact, special teams coach Tyler Kibbe looked at me and told me exactly which kid was going to fall on it. And then, so they needed an onside kick to stay in it. He bounced it directly off one of the front guys for Burlington, all the way up in the air, and landed only in the circle of Mount Pleasant kids. They got the ball back, and then they drove it down to about the 30. Last play of the game. They chucked one to Wyatt Woodsmall, who's been their best receiver all year, in the corner. And Burlington's, I wish I had his Gabe Robinson, jumped up. His back was even kind of turned to the ball, and he was able to. It was a great play by Gabe Robinson to knock it away, and that ended Mount Pleasant's game. But for as much of a struggle as the Mount Pleasant football program has been through this year, that was a major positive that they were in it. Obviously, they wanted to win. Rickman threw for 236 and 2 touchdowns. Peyton Higgins was back, who's a huge difference maker. He ran for 113 and a touchdown. And Carter Amos, as I said, 88 yards and 2 touchdowns on 6 catches. So Mount Pleasant plays Clinton next week. Hopefully a team that they can beat. The Clintons won 1 game, and they've had some pretty similar results. I would say even before this Burlington game, that we wouldn't have thought even Clinton you would probably be a step above Mount Pleasant, but now it doesn't look like that. So if everyone's healthy, which it looks like they are, maybe they'll go up and give them a game.
Yeah, I was going to ask, if you're Mount Pleasant, obviously the loss on homecoming sucks, and it could have been, the other way around very easily.
Yeah, of course.
If you're Mount Pleasant, are you taking this as kind of a win in your book with the season you've had and kind of leading into this, kind of last week here?
That's a good question. The players certainly didn't. There were, it was an emotional. It was the last home game. It was an emotional game. In fact, it was the last game that Mount Pleasant will play within this stratosphere because they're playing up at Clinton and North Scott, which are like 2.5 hour drives. But there was very emotional. They're sad they lost it. But from just a sports editor's viewpoint, who hadn't seen them really be able to take a punch and punch right back, they certainly did it this Friday. So it was exciting. It was a very exciting game. Even with the loss, it was fun to see him come back. It was fun to see him at full strength and see what the offense can do. And the defense played okay at times. Burlington has to be the I think I said this with West Burlington Notre Dame, but the team that Mount Pleasant's defense does not want to face is a team that has a bunch of kids that can run the ball, and that's exactly what Burlington does, and they scored on some long touchdowns. So, but you know what, little momentum going into next week, hopefully, just with that they're playing better.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, can say more about Mount Pleasant and the fight they showed in that game. So.
Yeah. And speaking of fight, you were at another game that we thought was going to be a little worse than it was, and somebody showed up. How did that go?
Yeah, Fairfield took on Solon, number 6 rated Spartans there, and obviously they've been the favorite in that district since the beginning, and I don't know how long it dates back, but for quite a while they've been the favorite.
Yeah.
The odds were against Fairfield, at least if you look at like BC Moore and the rankings things and projections and whatnot, but right out the gate. Fairfield came out with an intensity, and it was something that as a spectator you knew they were going to have to do against a great Solon squad. Solon got the ball first, but Fairfield was able to pick the ball off on the third play from scrimmage. That they marched right down the field in 7 plays, and Tate Allen found probably his favorite target, Max Wheaton, and a toe toucher right on the backside of the end zone. It could have been lucky they couldn't review it because I'm not sure how close it was. But yeah,
they would never turn that in Fairfield.
Oh no,
they got their best man on the video.
But yeah, those two connected, and that was a start of a real hot connection for them on the night. Wheaton would end with 3 touchdowns on the night, but. On the defensive side of the ball, it was a different story for the Trojans. From then on out, Solon was near perfect. The rest of the first half, Fairfield was forced to punt on 4 straight drives, and Solon scored 31 unanswered and went into the locker room with a 31-7 lead. And, coming into that second half, that Fairfield was going to have to come with that same intensity if they wanted to claw back because Solon was just that good. Well, Fairfield once again marches down the field in 16 plays, and it leads to another Allen and Wheaton touchdown. And you're kind of feeling some life, but as soon as they gained it, Solon took it right back with another long drive and the score, and that one ended with Solon on top, 45-25. So a tough loss for Fairfield after coming in on 3 straight wins. Obviously, they had a rough road there, but they were hot, and you kind of get knock them for how they played. They played pretty well in this one, and they've got a huge matchup coming in this week. But looking at the stats from this. Tate Allen went 18 for 32 for 213 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. On the ground, he's kind of been their leading man. They haven't been able to have kind of a general run game with a running back in the backfield because they keep getting hurt and things like that. And Miles McEntee did go down with, I believe, a neck injury. I heard. I was talking to some of the guys on the sideline, so that's another blow for them. Yeah. So Allen, was a lot of QB design runs out of there. He had 18 carries for 91 yards and a touchdown as well. The receiving end, Wheaton 7 receptions, 103 yards, 3 touchdowns. We got Landon Nodder, he had 3 receptions, 24 yards. Casey Miller, 3 receptions for 50 yards. Miles McEntee, 3 receptions for 28 yards. Talon Bates, 2 receptions for 8 yards. And you kind of see that, they were kind of forced to go to Wheaton a lot, because that Solon defense and that secondary and those DBs were pretty stout on the outside. And we kind of talked about that with the win over West Burlington, is they got other guys involved, against a great defense, they'd have to find another way. Had to find another way to get it done, and they just couldn't get over the hump in those moments. And they had
district.
And they had some big penalties too. There were times when they were driving down the field and they'd have a holding call that marching back, and you need every inch against a team like Solon.
Yeah, of course.
A tough loss for Fairfield, but district wise, They're right there. Obviously, we're going to see how Washington and Fairfield plays out this week, this Friday. That's going to be huge for the district. Washington pulls out a win. They're right back in it. And we're going to jump into that game here and how huge that game was for Washington.
Yeah, because Washington beat Keokuk 28-27. They were up. Keokuk was up 21-14. At the end of the half and at the end of the third quarter, Washington outscored them 14-6, and Keokuk tried to win it on a 2-point conversion. And I got a picture in a little late to put in the paper, but from Mississippi Valley Publishing of Ethan Patterson jumping up and knocking the ball down. So just like in the Burlington game with that Robinson coming in and knocking the Mount Pleasant pass down, that's exactly what Ethan Patterson did for Washington to secure that, and Washington's alive, just by a bit. But when we look at the schedule, as you said, Washington and Fairfield play. And Solon plays Grinnell this week. Unless Grinnell can pull off a big upset, that's going to put whoever wins this game into a situation where they got a shot to get in the playoffs. So only 2 teams automatically get in.
And you look at it, if you look who everyone's got left. Fairfield's got Grinnell, which Grinnell has a great quarterback and great all around team. Obviously, they beat Washington. They're not nothing to look down on, and they've got Solon this week. So. I'm sure Solon's favored in that one too.
Yeah, of course.
But if you look at the last games of the season, a win here for Fairfield, kind of gives them a little breathing room.
Yep.
As for Washington, they pulled us out. They got West Burlington left?
They got West Burlington left, and then Washington would still, if they beat Fairfield, looking ahead, Washington would still like Fairfield to beat Grinnell, set up a 3-way tie for second. So the RPI is the other tiebreaker in that after the first 2. Fairfield and Washington aren't great in the RPI right now. They're not super far up there because of non-district losses and stuff like that. But both of them have a chance to get in second, and there's only 2 games left, and they're winnable games for both. Obviously, the game against each other is winnable. I think that's about as much of a coin flip as you can do. So that'll be fun. It's been a while since Fairfield's beat Washington.
Yeah.
It has been a while, so we'll see if they can pull it out. But yeah, and speaking of crazy playoff scenarios, we'll jump into our roundup because the Waco Winfield. Now I better not pass out here because last week I was talking about Waco Winfield volleyball and that's what got me. So it was the red versus the blue.
But you're all right because I've got the right roundup.
Yeah, we're ready.
If you have to walk out,
that's right. Yeah, we're good. We got our swagger back this week. Waco 43, Winfield Union 0. It was the clash we've been talking about all year, and just like the last 2 years, whenever there's the game where you're saying, "Oh, this is the big one," maybe Waco could lose this week. They don't. 43-0. It was all Waco. They jumped out ahead. Samir Eichenbeck ran for 162 and 3 touchdowns. And Ole Shevanchuk, who I learned how to pronounce his name over and over again, and I always mess it up. But he had 2 touchdown catches. He's just a great receiver for them, and having Reichenbach eat up as much yards, So Waco's in, and Waco's probably they got Tri-County this week. They're probably gonna win. They're the district champions, even if they lose this week. In the biggest upset forever. Winfield Mount Union will likely not get first, second, or third unless Iowa Valley loses this week, which is possible.
Yep.
So they need to get in through the plus-minus system, which on Round Guy Radio this week, and I accidentally said that it was a 35-point tiebreaker. It's not. It's it used to be a 35-point tiebreaker back when I was, in 2008 or whatever. But I think that they didn't want teams running up to 35. So if Winfield Union wins by 17 this week against English Valleys, it would take a lot of dominoes, teams that are in third place right now moving to fourth, and all this crazy stuff for Winfield to not make the playoffs. So if they win by 17, even if they don't, they are right now, they're the top team out of the pool of fourth place teams that you'd pluck from for the plus minus. So 43-0, Waco's on. Waco's the district champions. Again, second year in a row, but Winfield Mount Union definitely not dead.
Yeah, another team out of that, that 8-player district there that got a win and secured another playoff spot is New London. They went over, or they hosted Lone Tree last week, pull out a 58-21 win. They've clinched they haven't clinched, I believe, the second spot, but right now they're in the second spot, and they've got a favorable matchup against HLV coming up this Friday. Here, obviously, HLV's down. In this one, Bowden Pickle ran for 149 yards, 2 touchdowns. Blaze Porter and Dom Lopez each ran for 2 each. And Lopez also threw 2 touchdowns, and Rian Seaberg scored once as well on the ground. So, New London, after a tough, I would say this every week, after a tough start to the season, and Big loss to Waco there in the middle of the season a couple weeks ago. They're rolling right now and got it figured out, and they're going to be playing in the playoffs. So
yeah, for sure. And I actually think even if they lose, I think they still get second because of the tiebreaker.
Okay.
Because the only team that can tie them is Iowa Valley. So I did my tiebreaker story. Shout out everyone grab a newspaper, as you always should, every single day of the week. I think in today's paper and Wednesday's paper, I tried to figure all that stuff out. Second Kyoto 53-6 over Central Decatur. Cole Clarahan 178 and 4 touchdowns. The Bundy, Clarahan Bundy. We had a few of those last year with his brother. Big win for them. I mean, Central Decatur was one of the teams that you said might beat Sigourney Kyoto. They were one of the best teams in the district. Mm-hmm. Sigourney Kyoto is district champions. They're going to get the 1 seed in the playoffs. And so I mean they have. No team's higher than Sigourney Kyoto. You can make an argument that Sigourney Kyoto is almost hotter than our undefeateds, Waco and Columbus. They've just been killing teams that are going to Van Buren County. Maybe a little magic in Keosauqua, and they got the construction, so maybe that'll distract us. Sigourney Kyoto, but that's a battle of our teams next week. But Sigourney Kyoto, district champions, Cobras.
Oh, I mean,
fights them again.
Saying that though, the Sigourney Kyoto being the hottest team in the area, it's like you look at the undefeated teams, they've kind of had. Not, I guess you shouldn't say an easy ride, but if you look at Waco, no one's really competed with them. But like Sigourney Kyoto had to face that adversary right out the gate.
Yeah.
And now every team that's came in and they was projected to be, a 1-score game has been a blowout in Sigourney Kyoto's favor. So kudos to them for kind of bouncing back there. Next up, we got another team. We're going to talk about undefeated teams. We got Columbus taking on North Cedar last week. Columbus had no problem once again this week, 57-0 over North Cedar. They scored 31 points in the first quarter alone, led 50-0 at halftime. They ran for 350 yards, no surprise there. 7 touchdowns as a team. Jeff Hoback ran for 73 yards in the touchdowns, and both Trenton Hoback and Tristan Miller scored twice on the day. And there's probably no bigger game this week than Columbus hosting, on the whole state. I know Varsity Bound has his number 1 matchup in the state this week, but Columbus taking on Alburnett for a district championship.
Yeah, check out YouTube's after this. Don't click out of the YouTube right now. Wait till we're done. YouTube 0 to 100. I think it's called Z Media. It's kind of a Columbus video production, and it kind of takes you through the whole season. It's a really cool thing. I was addicted to that the other day. Huge game. Centerville 30, Mid Prairie 14. It was tied 14-14. Mid Prairie had a chance to bump up in the standings there. Mid Prairie still going to the playoffs, but a little tough win there for them. So there was their second district loss. Colin Miller did throw for 188 and 2. But nothing there. And then I'll roll through these just for time because we had a few teams that had some really, really tough matchups, right? But playing over Pekin 42-7, Lisbon 48-8 over Highland. Number 8, Pella Christian 63-0 over Cardinal, and Pleasantville 49-8 Van Buren County. Got any thoughts on any of those? Tough matchups, weren't they?
Yeah, for our area teams, they were pretty tough ones. Obviously, Cardinal playing Pella and all that, and then Van Buren County's been struggling as of late. Mm-hmm. And Highland. They play. It seems like a team that could be a top 10 team every week. So
now next week, Highland and Pekin. So both teams are mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, I do believe. But it's a chance to go out with a win and to look forward for next year. So a little bit of super conference north teams clashing. But so it was a tough one of those weeks where some of the teams that are other teams that weren't making the playoffs had some rough matchups. So, and speaking of rough matchups, Iowa Wesleyan played the perennial number 1 team in the UMAC, and you were there, and it seemed like the defense was there, but the offense was not, right?
Iowa Wesleyan took on Dickinson State. They were receiving votes out of their, I guess, the
NAIA
the pool there, and like you mentioned, the Iowa Wesleyan defense showed up, but the offense was. Well, needless to say, too many turnovers. They lose this one 23-0 right out the gate. Dickinson State marched down the field, put 7 on the board. After a couple punts by both teams, Iowa Wesleyan got down to inside the 10, but their first turnover of the game really kind of set the tone for the rest of the way as they tried kind of lofting a pass over the top, and it got picked off in the back of the end zone. And pretty much from then on out. It was Iowa Wesleyan, gaining some ground and then turning the ball over. They finished with 6 turnovers on the day, 4 interceptions, 2 fumbles. I believe they fumbled. If I have to double check on this, but I believe they fumbled 4 times, but lost 2 of them. Grabbed the other 2. So Jesus, they could have 8 turnovers on the day, which that's not going to win you anything. But to start the second half, they were down 20-0 at the half. So defense held them to 3 in the second half, but Iowa Wesleyan got all the way down to the 1-yard line, and could not punch it in.
Yeah.
They just couldn't get it in, and then on fourth down they went for it, and a sack turned the ball over, gave it back to Dickinson, and that was. They never really got a good chance after that.
Yeah.
So, but if you're Iowa Wesleyan, you're looking at this one, and you limit those turnovers because they made a couple big plays, got them across midfield,
and 23-0's not that bad against
next play, and they would fumble. Just and those are just momentum, just drainers right there when things like that happen. So that's what we kind of saw in this one. But you can take a positive that they held one of the best teams in the UMAC there to 23 points. So
yeah, and they've got 3 out of 4 road games to close the year out. It's kind of weird. Wesleyan is in the middle of their season. They're not at the end of the season like the high school team, so they've got plenty to play for. They're still alive for everything for the an playoff spot, technically a district championship if the right teams beat the right teams, and all their games from now on are winnable. And the one home game is on Senior Day on October 29th, a little revenge potential against Dakota State, who beat them in a weird non-conference thing. So anyway, we're all done with our football talk for now, or are we? I guess we'll just have to find out.
Oh, yeah. He's got a little treat at the end.
Yeah. Well, yeah, at the end. So we'll have to find out.
I don't know if it's a treat.
Last week I got tricked on this. I said it was a 30-second break. I actually think I was starting to lose my mind, so I said 30-minute break. I think we got 1 minute, right, of commercial breaks today. So sit back, enjoy yourself, and so we'll see you in 60.
Federation Bank is a locally owned bank providing award-winning customer service. We believe that we are more than just a federation of banks, but a federation of communities, serving Brighton, Richland, Wellman, and Washington, Iowa. Federation Bank's highly skilled staff is here to make sure you are able to accomplish your personal and professional goals, whatever they may be. Federation Bank, your family bank.
And we are back, Southeast Iowa Union Sports Live. Hunter, where can you watch Southeast Iowa Union Sports Talk live?
You can watch it on Facebook at Washington Live, Fairfield Live, Mount Pleasant Live, all 3 of those, and on YouTube. I believe all 3 of those as well.
Yep.
If you search all those.
No, only one. Only Washington Live.
Only Washington Live on YouTube, but we're also on Spotify.
Yep.
So
everywhere.
If you don't like looking at us, you can listen to us.
That's right.
Whichever you prefer. But
or you can even go on Spotify and then you can have the option because you can actually watch it. Spotify's pretty fancy.
I didn't know
like
that. So.
Yeah. Also, by the way, if you just follow us on, a lot of people might be watching us on Southeast Iowa Union, on at Union Sports page, which is our Twitter page. So yeah, and we have it on there. I just went in and made sure that the live video is working, so you can watch it straight on the Twitter. More people follow us on Twitter than anything. So our Twitter's popping off, and so speaking of popping off, this is the time to get through it because this is the time I had to leave the set last week. So what's going to happen? By the way, shout out to my friend Matthew Tangasala. I said online that if someone could watch last week's video and point out the part where I started feeling bad, and he went on there and commented he got it right. So he actually said that I look like Wendy Williams, who also had a very similar situation one time on her show where got a little pass at me. But I'm surprised that anyone could stay from passing out from all the excitement last night at the Southeast Iowa the Southeast Conference volleyball tournament. That would have went way smoother if I would have realized what the conference was called. It was night 2. You went to night 1 last week. It was night 2. Burlington was the favorite. They were 3-0. We had a couple of shots with Fairfield came in 2-1. By the way, it was the round robin tournament. It was in Fort Madison last night. Mount Pleasant came in 1-1, and Washington had a really unfortunate 0-3. They had lost in 3 sets, they're all 3-setters coming in. So a couple of chances, and who made the most of their chances? But the Fairfield Trojans. They are Southeast Conference volleyball champions for the first time in 4 years.
Wow.
So a school that used to win a lot of them.
We came into that. After that first week, obviously, I was there in Washington, and Burlington came out of there with the only team with 3 wins, and we were talking about how it's still a complete toss up because some teams didn't play the other team, some played Mount Pleasant and Fort Madison only played 2 games, and Fort
Yep.
Madison got a huge win there, and I believe yesterday. I could be wrong, but-
So it started off. Washington needed about everything to go.
Yep.
Actually, no, Washington couldn't even win it because Burlington was 3-0. But Mount Pleasant and Fairfield both had a shot. I walked in. Mount Pleasant played in the first. One of the first games they had Fort Madison, not dead to rights, but they beat them in the first set and they were leading in the second. That would have been a huge one for them. Fort Madison came back and beat them, and that really put the Panthers down for a while there. And Fairfield came in and played Mount Pleasant the next game, and they looked awesome. They won 21-9, 21-10, or 25-9, 25-10, which, if you've seen them, play even the last few years, usually Fairfield and Mount Pleasant go right down to the wire. So they looked real strong, but Burlington squeaked out a game against Keokuk, which actually turned out to be good because if they didn't, the tiebreakers would have been a little different.
Yep.
So it turned out being 4-0 Burlington versus 3-1 Fairfield for the championship, the last match of the night. Shout out to the Fairfield parents and the Burlington parents. Really, there weren't a ton of students there last night. It was late. It got late, and so the parents became the student section. And it was a rocking place. And Fairfield blew the first set, 26-24, after they were leading, and then they were trailing in the second set. Came back, won that one, 25-22. So then it all came down to one set, and the momentum that Fairfield had built in the second set, they used that in the third and won at 15-7, and the celebration was on. There's a lot of seniors there that have played a lot of years. Kaya Robertson's been there, libero for a long time. I talked to her after the tournament last night, and she was talking about how it's been a while.
Yeah.
She said, that they'd won 4 years is a while for Fairfield volleyball, and she was happy to be a part of it. Maggie and Macy Rayburn both had great games both times. They both got 5 or 6 kills a piece there. Rowan Terrell had actually led or co-led them in kills both times, so she'll be something to build around there. But it's a very upperclassman-led team. They only got one underclassman. Lily Bergen's the only kid that's not a senior junior, so is huge for them. And the co-coaches, Stephanie Herman and Vicky Rebling, who stepped in this year, and they are now Southeast Conference champions.
Yeah, good for them. Obviously, they battled all season long. It's been a battle in that conference, and we said it was going to be a toss-up of who would come out on top, and well, now we have our answer.
Yep, there we go. And by the way, Washington was 2-0 last night. They beat Fort. In fact, they swept Fort Madison and Mount Pleasant. It's been a really frustrating year for them.
Yeah.
They got Ella Grander back. She had she bumped her noggin on a bleacher at Fairfield a couple weeks ago. I was there. It was a tough one. She played through that, but she was in concussion protocol, so wasn't able to play on that day one. Could have made a difference. She was back. She played great last night. So Washington went 2-0, and they got 4th place, which, they were 6th in the regular season, and they were 6th coming in. So that was good. And then Mount Pleasant could just never recover from that Fort Madison game. They had won 2 championships in a row, so they were going for 3, but you can't win them all. And they actually ended up 6th because of the loss to Fort Madison. So it was a tough night for the Panthers, but a very positive one for the Trojans, and also a very positive one for the Demons as far as moving forward. So that was that in the old Southeast Conference, and they'll play some tournament stuff next week.
Yeah. Well, if we want to jump right into the smaller schools, we had some district champions crowned last night.
Yeah.
Winfield takes the Southeast Iowa Super Conference North Division.
Queens of the North.
Yep. Queens of the North. They sweep Wapello 3-0. They win 25-22, 25-23, and 25-12. Huge momentum for them taking that division. Obviously, now their regular season's wrapped. On the night, Melina Opening led them with 10 kills. Keely Malone had 26 assists, and Keaton Townsley racked up 23 digs. And next week they'll open up with a Class 1A Region 8 matchup with Twin Cedars. Winfield's been one of the better teams in the Southeast Iowa Super Conference. Obviously, it's stacked as can be. So good to see them pull out a district championship there.
Yeah, and just jumping in here, they got in the same regional tournament as Waco, Holy Trinity, and Notre Dame. So that will be an absolute battle. It's the top 4 seeds. That is a battle for that.
If you want to jump in and tell who they play, who what?
Yeah.
I haven't looked at it yet.
I got them in the brain. Yeah. If it's still here.
You just mentioned Waco though, but they end their regular season with a 3-0 sweep over Highland, winning at 25-12, 25-14, and 25-14. Ella Kissel had 10 kills in the win. Grace Coble 23 assists. Jocelyn Fulton 15 digs. They will open against Melcher Dallas on next Monday, and all these games will take place next Monday. And then Highland will take on Tri-County to open theirs in the Class 1A region. Highland's in Class 1A Region 7. Waco's in that Region 8, Class 1A Region 8. New London, they sweep Danville last night to end their season. They went at 25-14, 25-12, and 25-10. Natalie Burden had 15 kills. Ellie Manning, 33 assists. Emma Nye, 23 digs. New London's in that Class 1A Region 7. They'll play Hillcrest on Monday, and I know you said they're in the district with the number one, or the bracket and regional with the number one team in the state. So tough.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to pick your poison. You got to pick your poison.
It's tough. That they're in with that, but I could. With our teams as good as they are in the Southeast Iowa Super Conference, I could never say that they don't have a chance. So maybe that's even better than having to beat two really good teams in the other regions. So who knows?
Right. Moving on here, we got Columbus 3-2 over Pekin. The Wildcats took the first two sets 25-20, 25-13, and then Pekin fought back, clawed back 25-16, 25-13, setting up a fifth set final there. Columbus edged them 15-13, so real battle there between two of our teams. Victoria Howe led Columbus with 9 kills. Sarah Vela had 21 assists, and Isabella Lagunas had 13 digs. Next up, we got Hillcrest Academy 3-2 win over Liza Muscatine. It was a back and forth affair. Another 5-set battle here. The Ravens took the first two sets 25-13, or they took the first set 25-13, lost the second 25-20, won the third 25-13, and lost the fourth 25-14, sent into that fifth set. And then the Ravens stood strong in that fifth set and won at 15-9.
Big one for
Malia Yoder finished with team high 17 kills. Claire Withrow, 29 assists, and Yoder also had 14 digs, led him in that department as well. The last game here, we'll wrap it up. Cardinal took a tough loss to Davis County 3-0. They fell 25-13, 25-6, 25-12. Rihanna Guter led Cardinal with 7 kills. Emily Ward, 6 assists. And then Brindley Ostrander finished with 9 digs. And Cardinal will open up during that 2A Region 8 bracket there. So they'll play Van Buren on Monday.
I should have looked it up, but I swear Van Buren County and Cardinal have played each other in the first round of the volleyball tournament for the last 400 years.
And they're over in that area, just kind of a little rivalry.
Yeah, a little rather like. First thing we do is we're going to put these two teams together. Cardinal, they really got the rough end. It is a very strong season in the South Central Conference for volleyball. Not that the South Division of the Super Conference wasn't, but that was tough. So they couldn't quite scoop up one, but they'll probably get some in basketball and softball. That's a long ways away. But
you go from one to the other. It's like you go from one dominant conference to the other. It's like,
yeah, that's right.
What are you going to do? I guess. But.
Yeah, what are you going to do? It's tough. It's tough. So moving on to some cross country. I was at the Super Conference Championships on Monday. And was it Monday or was it Thursday? No, Thursday. That was a while ago.
No, yeah.
Well, it feels like it was just yesterday. I was in Winfield, which is always a rocking time because Winfield cranks the tunes during the race, which is always kind of fun. And we had some winners. The Pekin girls, they've had a great year all season. They won by 41 points over Danville New London, and then the Danville New London boys were champions by 18 over Mediapolis. So big ones there. Pekin, Chloe Glosser, a freshman, of course, won her first ever Super Conference championship. So I talked to her after the race, which she won it in 20 minutes, 12.4 seconds, which is almost 30 seconds ahead of Elena Gorley, another freshman from Danville, New London. So that might be your top two for quite a while. But I talked to Chloe Glosser after the race, and midway through the interview, I realized that after watching so many kids run through and they were kind of sucking wind and, really breathing, I thought to myself, this kid could probably go out there and run the entire thing again. She had, it seemed like she had all the energy in the world, even after the race. So, very positive for her. Awesome for Pekin girls. Lauren Seageyer was third for Pekin. They had, I think, 4 or 5 girls there in the top 10. Fantastic job for Pekin. We knew they had a good shot at winning the conference championship this week.
Yeah, just going off that, I'll read off the rankings. I just wrote this morning here, and before we get to some Devontae Adams here, but I'll just read through my list here. We've got in the rankings as teams, we've got Mid Prairie girls, number 2 in the state. They're behind River Valley Conference opponent Monticello, so we get some good runners up there.
Yep.
Danville New London for the boys, they're number 3. Mid Prairie in the 2A that 2A class. There's 13th. In 1A, you mentioned Chloe Glosser, Pekin, the Pekin girls. They were number 2 at one point in time in the season. Now they're 6th. And then in Class 3A, both Washington and boys squads are in there. The girls are in 8th and the boys are 17th.
Girls are up to 8th. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
They are climbing.
So individually, obviously, Mid Prairie, Daniel Hosteller, defending state champion. She's number 1 in the state in 2A. AJ Bonison, representing Danville New London. Danville kid, though. He's 6th in 2A. Chloe Glosser, number 6 in 1A.
Wow.
Washington's Micah Reese is number 8 in 3A. And so, and then I'll scroll down to the bottom here, and I'll just kind of run through here the rest of the individuals.
Yep.
Here. So 3A, Micah Reese is 8th, I said. 3A girls, Iris Dahl, Washington is 12th. 2A boys, a lot of Danville New London on the 2A boys. AJ Bonison's 6th. Emmett Schwarzenberger for Mid-Prairie is 11th. Rylan Martin is 16th for Danville New London, and then Carter Fessler is 26th for Danville New London. And the 2A girls, Daniel Hostetler is number 1, as I mentioned. Abby Fleming is 11th for Mid-Prairie, and then Phoebe Shetler is 22nd for Mid-Prairie. And then rounding out here is 1A girls. Obviously, Chloe Glosser is 6th for Pekin, and then Lauren Stiegler is 11th for Pekin. So. Wow. A lot of potential here for our area cross country runners.
And it's going to be a wave of Union area cross country runners probably going to state, hopefully, and hopefully finishing good. By the way, I was being Danville, Bonison 2nd and Rylan Martin 3rd. Got a Meepo kid right at the horn. In that super conference meet. So exciting stuff in the cross country. We're in postseason play. We are in in the thick of it. And I had to bring up, because there's a little controversy involving people of our ilk, Hunter, on Monday night when your beloved Chiefs were playing in the NFL. For anyone who was not watching. One of our own, a cameraman, was shoved by an NFL player, and I wanted to get your. I told him on the way up, I wanted to get your candid reaction on the cameraman kind of walked in front of Devontae Adams, receiver for the Raiders, and he got pushed down, something that our kids would never do to us so far. And although shout out Brevin Wilson of the Iowa Sling golf team, he sent a little reply, kind of hinting that he might. But what do you think? Are you team player or team cameraman?
I mean, I don't know what it's like to be an NFL player, but I don't think Devontae Adams is a bad guy. I saw another video. I saw another video where the cameraman didn't just
kind of random.
Didn't I don't know if it looked on it was on purpose, but he just definitely was not paying attention. Now, should have Devontae Adams probably shoved him? Probably not. Yeah. Now, it said the guy had injuries, which is it wasn't on top of beating the crap out of him or something like that, But so I don't know. I know he's pressing charges or whatever, but. I don't know. I mean, if I got pushed down by Devontae Adams, I'd like to think that I wouldn't say I was pressing charges unless I got very injured. I'd probably be like, man, Devontae, just
a lot of money coming out of that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that guy probably will get paid just to make it quick and easy. I mean, he got the money, so whatever.
Well, I'm not sure if you guys saw, and I'm not sure, Nick, you can give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you saw this cameraman get pushed the other day. Thumbs up for deserved it, thumbs down for didn't deserve it. Big thumbs up. Deserved it. He's Team Devontae Adams. Yeah. Well, Worlds of Fun in Kansas City has banned Devontae Adams for life. And for us, being in the media, cameraman everywhere, I would like to issue a 1-year suspension. Devontae Adams of the Raiders will not be on this show. So that's effective immediately. 1 year.
Unless he ends up on the Chiefs in that year.
Unless he ends up on the Chiefs or the Bears and does well.
And the Bears.
And then we'll lift the suspension.
Oh, yeah. Andy will be right on that one.
Yeah. But, it's a little violence. We're have to be tough out there,
Yeah.
I got hit with a softball one.
Hey, I've almost got. Where it's real dangerous on the sideline of a football game. You got to watch your ankles and your knees.
That's right.
Over there, man.
Yeah, my wife used to be. She was always scared. She would stay on the sideline with me where people were getting pushed and all that stuff. But when for some reason on field goals and extra points back before I had kids, and she would stay on the sideline with me, she would just stand all the way over to the track, and I was like, "Why? The football doesn't hurt that bad." I used to be worried about these kids. So anyway, So I guess I'm outvoted. I was team cameraman. Mostly because Devontae Adams used to play for the Packers, and I just want him to get suspended.
And you're a Bears fan, so
yeah. They should actually take away some of those Packers wins from earlier seasons, in my opinion. Give them to the Bears, but
all the Bears wins.
But I guess 2-1 team football players. So I guess you're giving all of our viewers permission to go shove cameraman. I don't know about that, but
try shoving me.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. So anyway, that's all we have for everything, and we survived today. No one walked off the set.
Felt like it was pretty good.
Felt like we were pretty alive. We got our swagger back, and so did you if you're watching us today on Washington Live, YouTube or Facebook, Mount Pleasant Live, Facebook, Fairfield Live, Facebook. We're also on Spotify Live. Our sponsors, by the way, if you see our little banner, it's probably right here.
Yeah.
Make sure to obviously go support those guys. They support our show.
Yeah.
So stop in, get some food, get your teeth done. We have so many sponsors these days, I can't even rattle through them all, but. Thank you. I think Old Threshers is in on us today, so go out to Old Threshers and get a root beer or whatever. So thank you to our sponsors, our watchers. We'll be back next week, God willing, and have a good week.
Yeah, see you.